So, in case any of you have been wondering where I've been for the last 6 months, well, let's just say I've been a little busy. I don't know, I guess I got a little bit held up. You see, life is, well, stressful, and it hardly gets any easier when you're faced with the constant noise of getting older. The bills, the taxes, that pain in your lower back that's been around for far longer than it should. But instead of worrying about all of that woke nonsense, I'd much rather just stay right here in my happy place and just, yeah. I mean, look at it. You just start here and do a little bit more here, and all of a sudden you're just in that never-ending zone where you're constantly doing the gratifying part of what could be considered getting the job done. That's exactly the science behind games like these, whereas rather than actually going through the tedious effort of setting up the equipment and traveling to a location, you can just boot up the game at your leisure and do the satisfying job of jet washing a fence. But what gives? Why are we like this? Well, sure enough, that's exactly what I'm here to explain. Now, for those of you out of the loop, the name's Mingus. I talk about stuff, but that's not important. What is important is making sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel right now. You don't understand. I need this. The Hat Man makes me do these, and I don't want to make the Hat Man angry. Please, I've been down here for 7 months and I just want to see my family. Power Wash Simulator is a game that appeals to a certain subset of people who yearn for that satisfaction of seeing a job get done. It's very much in the same vein of how people enjoy watching ASMR videos, but I can't help but wonder if it goes a little bit deeper than just surface level gratification. Yes, it's true that when the monkey brain sees job getting done, monkey brain becomes happy. But again, I ask why? Why are we so hardwired to enjoy seeing jobs get completed? Well, let's go back roughly 2 million years. Hunter-gatherers have just begun assembling stone tools to facilitate survival, which means more food and shelter, which means boom! More population. Babies, caveman babies start spawning everywhere for over 1 million years until roughly 300,000 years ago when Homo sapiens just happened to appear in Africa for some reason. And then, nothing happened. For 230,000 years there was absolutely nothing happening. Until 70,000 years ago when modern humans began migrating out of Africa for the first time and started spreading across the globe. The Arabian Peninsula, Asia, the prison colony, and then 45,000 years ago modern humanity reached Europe and everything was just going great. But nobody knew how to farm yet. We've just gone over nearly 2 million years of history and nobody's worked out that you can get infinite cows from lobbing 2 cows into a pen. Until around 10,000 BCE when all of a sudden, agriculture just starts happening and people are now realizing you can put seeds into the ground, which means the Neolithic era has just begun, which means boom, babies, human babies start spawning everywhere. The population is now booming and the first semblance of human civilization is now beginning, and it all started with the invention of the pickaxe. People no longer need to hunt like they used to, but that still didn't stop them from wiping mammoths off the face of the earth. But regardless, people could now settle, and that's exactly what they did. Which means buildings. Buildings start appearing out of nowhere, because now there's no need to live nomadically when you can just cram a bunch of pigs into a pen and have an infinite source of bacon. Now we have villages, towns, human settlements just appearing all over the place. And then, after some time, there's pyramids. Now there's just pyramids, and then there's religion, and then war, and then merchants, and money, and trade, and then empires, and then sprinkle in some colonialism until we land ourselves at the Industrial Revolution. Steam engines, child labor, mass production of goods on a global scale, along with mechanized horrors beyond our comprehension, all built on the human need to be productive, to work, to achieve magnificent and terrible things in order to survive in a world at constant war with itself. This was humanity's defining moment, the irreversible turning point which led us to globalization, to automation, to Cold War, and to the fucking moon landing, and it just never stops. It's never going to stop until our planet is engulfed by the sun in 5 billion years' time. But that doesn't really answer our question now, does it? No, it doesn't. But funnily enough, I am not done. We as a species have an inherent desire to be productive. It's not just what we do, it's what keeps us alive, and it's what keeps us going. It's what led us to create and cripple empires, and it's what's led us to achieving tremendous advancements in medicine and technology. So it should be no surprise that in the current year, we're so ingrained into the idea of being productive to the point that we play cleaning simulators for fun. And well, you've got to admit, it is pretty fun. Now, it's not quite the kind of fun like when you're 20 kills into a nuclear or when you're beating Baby Yoda to death with a hammer, but it's the kind of fun when you can just switch off. Or switch on, depending on your perspective. See, it's all about getting into the flow, that state where you're able to just do the job effortlessly without even thinking about it. It's that same feeling you get when you've got to do a repetitive task at work and you're able to just zone in or out while the job gets done. It's the same sort of feeling you get when you're doing the dishes, working out, or editing videos on YouTube. Playing games like this gives you that same experience, but it goes a little bit deeper than that. Technology has progressed to the point where a large percentage of work is now done behind a computer screen, and over the last 60 years that percentage has just risen higher and higher. Now, if you're wondering what this has to do with Power Wash Simulator, clearly you've not been paying enough attention. We are a society built around productivity, and modern productivity often occurs on screen, especially considering that global situation we found ourselves in recently. And the fact of the matter is, that release of dopamine you get from finishing something like this is very much the same as what you get when you're finishing sections on the skate park. You feel good because you're progressing through the load. You're being productive, and that feeling gets intensified if you're working with someone else. You feel the competitive need to be more productive, which in turn drives you to work harder, which in turn gives you more satisfaction when you find that you actually are completing jobs faster. It's almost this toxic loop of needing to be the best, the most productive, but it's not quite so toxic when you realize there's a common goal at play here. You're both in the trenches together to make sure the job gets done, and in the process, you forget about all that noise life throws at you. You forget about the bills, the taxes, and that pain in your lower back that still hasn't quite gone away yet. You're just present. That's the good ending. And it's a nice ending too. Reminiscent of the Taoist beliefs of effortless action, embracing the flow state, and in turn the art of going with the flow, being like water.
Be formless, shapeless, like water.
But this has nothing to do with Taoism. And if you've been paying close attention, you've probably realized by now that there isn't a good ending to this. Think about it. Think about what I've said throughout this video. We're all so ingrained with the need to be productive that we now play simulators just to get that same release of productivity. We're not working to survive anymore, we're surviving to work. We're all slaves to the machine, caught in a vicious cycle that's never going to stop. It's not about survival, it's about consuming. You work, you get paid, you spend and consume, you work, you get paid, you spend and consume over and over and over, and it just never stops. We're just numbers on the screen making more numbers increase and decrease, and it's all out of our control. We're not consuming products anymore. We are the product being sold to companies to bring you more adverts so you can buy more products, and the worst part about it is that we all just simply agreed to it without even thinking about it. We're just bombarded with noise every single day. Noise of alarms waking us up, noise of adverts telling us what new product to buy, what new thing we so desperately need. We live our lives deafened and distracted from the real atrocities that are happening every single day. But rather than focusing on all of that nonsense, I'm just gonna stay right here in my happy place and just, yeah, this is nice.